what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I'm back here at Porsche Tampa Bay, also known as Reese Porsche, because guess what? We have the all-new, this is the first time ever, Porsche Taycan Turbo S. Let's talk a little bit about Porsche. So Porsche, that brand from Germany, so iconic when it comes to sports cars and endurance racing and championships. This is their first ever venture into the full EV car segment. This is meant to go up against Tesla and the Model S. Tesla came out with that Model S in 2012, has really been the go-to for so many people. It's almost become the Apple of electric vehicle car companies. People are willing to wait, put down deposits, do handstands and tumbles and everything else to get their Tesla. There have been some other car companies, Audi with the e-tron, Jaguar with the I-Pace, to challenge Tesla, but nobody's really been able to get that magic recipe. One thing is for sure, that with this Taycan, Porsche wants to bring performance as their first venture into that EV segment, and really, as of right now, is the fastest four-door EV and four-door sedan around the famed Nürburgring, faster than a Tesla Model S. One thing you'll notice about this car is that it might look familiar. It's actually based off the Mission E concept vehicle that was unveiled by Porsche in 2015 at the Frankfurt Auto Show. One thing is for sure, I think you're going to be very surprised with the performance that this car brings, but also the style and the connection to the Porsches of the past. So let's go ahead, dive into this 2020 Taycan. Right off the bat, styling. I love what Porsche has done with their headlight design. You can see we had the daytime running lamps on for you, full LED. I love the way the curvature of the hood into the front fascia. This is going to be functional air curtain, both top and bottom. We come across, and as we come across, notice how the fender actually comes out and extends. Beautiful lines. This lower section screams Porsche, and it's great that they were able to bring these styling cues into the game of their first EV. Love the carbon fiber, functional air intake. You can see how the splitter extends. That's going to give us downforce, because I'm telling you right now, if you think that this doesn't perform, over 700 horsepower. But from one side to the other, I really love the flow of it, and it gives me a little bit of that 918 Spider vibe. Now, when we go up onto the frunk, that front trunk of the Taycan, you can see the very famous Porsche crest, the colors of Germany, Stuttgart, Germany, where they make all the Porsches. You can see the very prominent body lines. These two lines on the frunk remind me of a 911. So there's styling that really has been blended throughout this whole vehicle. Now, as we come around the bend, really love what's going on with the wheel and tire combination. Now, if you look at a picture of that Mission E concept, these optional wheels are pretty much spot on the money of what those wheels look like on the Mission E. Gloss black. I love the nice machined aluminum. Look at those calipers. They're the size of a whole bushel of electric bananas. Nice bright yellow. You have carbon ceramic rotors, two-piece rotors, going to help cut down on rotating mass, also going to help with the heat. Like I said, performance from a horsepower standpoint, performance from a braking and handling standpoint as well. Now, as we go into that beautiful curved fender, you'll see one of two charge port doors, which is very smart depending on where you're going to park your Taycan. Now, to open it, you just slide your finger, drops back. That's probably got to be the coolest opening charge port door out of any other vehicle, including Tesla. To close it, you're just going to swipe your finger and it drops back down, easy peasy, and it looks so good on top of that. Now, as we go down the side, I'm going to have Tom kind of full flow around and show you how that fender pulls out. Now, with the fender, one thing I do want to kind of show is that this is non-functional, so we are going to zonk this. I wish they would have made this functional for channeling air, but from a look standpoint, looks amazing. Now, as we come down the side, very defined body line. I like the way the body line in the door comes off of that vent area. The side sill extension drops down, a little bit of carbon fiber. Looks great. The whole roof is, guess what? Glass. It's not just blacked out, it's glass. So gives it a nice look with the white. Now, door handles. I do have the key fob in my pocket here. And you'll see you have your traditional style Porsche key fob, nice shape to it. Now to open up the door, you have your key fob in your pocket. You're going to actually push here on this, and then you're going to lift, and then the door opens. To close, door is closed. Now we want to have that handle drop back in and be nice and flush. There it is, nice and aerodynamic. Now as we keep working our way back, you can see that the Taycan is a 4-door Porsche. We've already gotten past that with the Panamera. Nice low sloping roof design. Even this corner window, this reminds me 911. You can see how the door goes into the fender, nice flared out. Let's focus on the rear wheel and tire setup. Just unbelievable. These are 21-inch wheels, and at the tail end of the business, you got a baby banana. That's a 4-piston Brembo caliper. Love the Porsche script. I think the yellow works great. Large, massive rotors at all 4 corners. You could get 4 Thanksgiving Day turkeys and have dinner just on the rotors. Now, as we get to the back, look at this beautiful body line, and then the rear, just like the front, very low and wide. The way the glass rear comes into this back trunk area. Now you see this portion here, this is actually a spoiler that will raise and lower at speed. You cannot, and I know this is gonna break your heart, drive through the mall parking lot with your spoiler up. It won't let you. So you could actually access a button in the infotainment system screen to make it pop up a little bit so that when you're washing your Taycan, you could rub your cleaning rag underneath the spoiler. But other than that, it stays in the down position. You can see the beautiful LED lighting. Look at how they took the Porsche name and they have that almost like an electric circuit with the design. Very unique. Taycan. It's not a Taycan, not like the Macan, it's Taycan, like you're wearing a tie. Turbo S. I am gonna zonk something. The turbo part. This car does not have a turbocharger. This is purely for marketing. Porsche felt that if they're gonna make their fastest electric vehicle, that trim would be called turbo, because that's what Porsche people associate their highest trim level of performance with. For me, I wish they would have done something a little bit different. So I am gonna zonk that, but definitely the lower bumper area, I love the design that they did. It's not meant to look like a fake vent, so we're not zonking it. You do have the carbon fiber rear diffuser area. Very, very clean. I want to show you another thing. I'm gonna have Tom kind of bring you in. Here's your rearward facing camera, not a big deal. You see that little piece sticking out? That's actually a sprayer. From behind the wheel, you could access a little spray action on that rear camera so that if it gets muddy, since it's so low and at the back of the vehicle, you can have a nice clean view. But while we go ahead, let's check out the interior and see what this Taycan is all about. All right, guys, we're inside Porsche's first ever EV, that Taycan Turbo S. I know you're probably scratching your head right now, trying to figure out, well, Joe, how much does this cost? First of all, you can stop scratching your head because now I'm gonna give you the answer. Second of all, I hope you're sitting down. You could get your Taycan, like I said earlier, 4 different ways. This one being fully loaded has a starting MSRP of $185,000. This one, the way it's optioned, the optional wheels, the glass roof, the whole shabam, you're looking at $201,000 MSRP. Now you might be saying, well, Joe, I could go get a Model S from Tesla for a lot cheaper. Remember, this is a Porsche. You go get a Porsche 911 Turbo S, it's gonna cost you over $200,000. But why don't we see what you get for the money in the Taycan Turbo S? To the door panels, I love what they did. They broke up the sea of dark material, and what's great is that it's all soft touch, fine leather at the top, the stitch work, the tan in the center. You do have 3 memory settings for both the passenger and the driver, optional sound system with the beautiful aluminum speaker cover, and you even have a felt line pocket down there for your German Twinkies. As we go to the dash, that traditional Porsche setup, nice and flat, beautiful stitch work. Here's where things are gonna get a little different. If you are the type of person who likes switches, knobs, and buttons, you may not like this. You have 2 touchscreen setups in the center console for the infotainment and AC and all the other controls. Now let me show you how to use this. You can actually touch the screen, go into your navigation and whatnot very easily. We could go back home. You could go into car settings. Now let me talk about car settings for a few seconds here. You have your different drive modes, chassis setup, because remember, you have your adaptive dampers all four corners. You could adjust the height of your Taycan. Recuperation. Now, we're not talking about you getting a little bit of R&R or something after you're done driving your Taycan. We're talking about regenerative braking. So if you press this, you could actually have it off, on, or automatic. Now, you're probably saying to me, well, Joe, wouldn't you want it on so that you get maximum range? Here's the thing. When it's on, the braking is going to be a little different than a traditional braking situation. So by leaving it off, what that does is it's actually going to allow us to have same brake feel as if we were just driving a non-EV vehicle, which would be important if you're doing a track day in this vehicle. Now, this last one here, electric sports sound, you turn this on, that's gonna pump sound that you would wanna hear from a Porsche through the sound system. And we'll get a load of that when we get to the drive portion. But really clear graphics, easy to use, and has all the information. Now, when we get to climate control, here's where things get a little weird. Ventilation, you'll notice we have diffused, focus, individual. If you look at the air vents that are in this vehicle, which there's two here and then there's two on the corners, this is not a lever, this is not a switch, there's nothing to control there. You actually adjust it here. If you want it more focused on you, then you could have it changed just by pressing the screen there. You could go back to diffuse and it's gonna spread it, or you could go into individual settings that specifically, that you want to see, but it's all done through the infotainment system. Now, as we drop down, you do have another touch screen here. You could go into your Navi this way. So you actually have two separate systems for navigation and everything, believe it or not. You have your AC controls. We could go up in temperature, down in temperature, heated seats, ventilated seats, and then you see this screen here? This is actually a mouse pad. Watch this, you hit that. Now I'm going back. You keep going back, there's our navigation screen. We keep going back, we're back to home. Let's say I wanna do climate control. So I'm just gonna swipe my finger until you get there, you hit down, and now we're back in the climate control setting. So really unique setup with this. Now, you wanna see how much charge you have? You just press the button. It's got a nice little kickback every time you touch. Open this up, and then you could actually open up the frunk and open and close the trunk. The frunk you'll have to actually get out to close it, and we'll close that out. Here's the last thing I want to show you before we move on. So if I go into navigation and I go to search, what we're going to do is I'm actually going to have, look at this, you actually could draw. So you want to find something, you just do the letter R, and that will actually help you search through your different locations and whatnot. You see this little guy over here? This should look very familiar to you. This is the same gear lever as what's found in the new 2020 911 PDK transmission. So that razor, sort of like a shaver style, that's gonna get us into our different, drive, neutral, all that. If you're wondering what kind of transmission does this have, it actually has a 2-speed transmission. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it into reverse here. You can see all of our different cameras that we have. Of course, all the alarms are going off that we have the doors open, but lots of different camera views and whatnot all through the system. Really, really great setup, and is gonna have you covered. You hit the P and you go back into park. You'll notice all the leather, the stitch work. You have a split level here where you could put actually some Snickers bars. You may even be able to fit a king size in there. If not, just take a bite and put it back underneath there. 2 cup holders, nicely placed, and it's got the little grabby feet in there so you can put different sizes. We open this up and you have some felt lining, you have wireless charging, 12 volt and 2 USBs, and a place for your Jolly Ranchers and Fireballs. Seats, these are the optional sports seats. I love the script, the Turbo S, the stitch work, the tan color is great, multifunctional with seating position, all full electric assist. Even the Taycan Turbo S light up badging down there looks great. Overall, lots of headroom. You have that beautiful Alcantara headliner, and then you can see the full glass that's in this vehicle all the way back to those passengers. But why don't you come on over here to the business end? I want to show you behind the wheel of the new Taycan Turbo S. All right, guys, business end. You do, like I said, have the 3 memory settings, large dead pedal, but I'm a little confused why it's not a nice brushed aluminum. I wish that it was a brushed aluminum on the dead pedal, but it is large to help support yourself. You can see how they brought the leather. One thing I want to also point out is you also have touchscreen options here for your lighting and whatnot. So nice to see that multiple different places where you have touchscreen access. The dash, I think it's so smart the way they did the gauge cluster and made it look like a gauge cluster instead of a rectangle square like a lot of the other brands. The steering wheel has a nice thickness to it. When we're looking at that dash, one of the things you should know is that this vehicle has 750 horsepower, 774 pound-feet of torque, all-wheel drive, like I said, 0 to 60, 2.6 seconds. You could do 10 back-to-back launches because it does have launch control and all that. Top speed, 162 miles an hour, quarter mile in 10.8, and a range of 225 miles, which when you look at the Tesla Model S, the range is not as far as the Tesla, but that is not the intention. This wasn't meant to be the end all for range for an electric vehicle. But back to the steering wheel, you do have electric tilt and telescoping. I love the thickness of it. The hollowed out areas look beautiful. You even have a drive mode selector. So just like on the 911, you could actually twist the knob and go from sport, sport plus, individual, all that good stuff, all by the switching, the turning of a knob, which is great. Headroom, plenty of headroom. I like the way they did the glass roof, kind of makes it a little bit more open and airy here. I think other than the dead pedal, this area right here, when you have the door closed, your arm is still here, and this is just hard plastic, so I am gonna zonk this little area. They could have put some leather just to finish it off. But why don't we go ahead, let's get to the back seat, because I'm telling you, you're in for some big surprises. All right, guys, back seat time in the Porsche Taycan Turbo S. Now, one thing to be aware of is that this does have just 4 seats, but you can option it with a rear bench seat to get that extra person in here if you have a family of 5 and you're gonna take them to a track day and really show everybody up as you have your family in the car with you. But the opening was just a little tight for somebody my height. I'm 6 feet tall. Once you're inside though, you got plenty of headroom. The glass roof, the rear passengers get to enjoy it even more than the front passengers because of how the glass extends very far forward and even goes past where your passengers' heads are. Now, what's interesting is that the seats, you sit very upright in the vehicle, but you do have a lot of bolstering, probably some of the highest bolstering that I've ever seen on a rear passenger seat, both bottom and on the top portion, but it's nothing too tight that it's gonna squeeze you. I do love the full one-piece backs, looks just like right out of a 911 race car. And then for the passengers, on this particular one, you do have a touch screen as well for AC controls. We don't want to leave the people in the back seat left out, but you have heated seats, no ventilated seats. That's a zonk. At $200,000, this should have ventilated and heated seats. They do have the Porsche official M&M peanut tray back here. I do like that. And what's nice is that the sides are nice and high, so your peanuts and M&Ms and stuff are not gonna slide all over the place. And then you have another tray here where you could put your Twinkies and have them gripped really, really nicely. It's got a nice grip surface to it. But like I said, seating position is a little high. Oh, hold on, my phone's ringing. Hello? Okay. Are you sure? All right, thanks, bye. So that was Dr. Ferdinand Porsche, the creator of Porsche and the founder of Porsche. These seats are standard, actually. The sport seats are standard in the Taycan. So just something I wanted to be corrected on. Armrest time. We pull this down. It's not much of an armrest. I'm going to call this a cup holder rest. Really no space for your arm. You do have 2 cup holders, but room is a little tight back here. Would be nice if it was shaped a little differently for your arm. But sitting back here, carving through some corners would be a ton of fun. Let's go ahead and check out the trunk and the front and see how much room you have in this EV. All right, guys, time to check out the trunk area. Now, one thing that you could do is you could use your key fob, which if you remember the key fob, the one nice thing that I really like about the key fob is when you access any of the buttons, it actually lights up the crest around the area there. So to let you know that something is actually happening and you could actually be walking away from the car, not staring at it. But to get into the trunk, you could use the key fob, or you see this little guy right here, this trapezoid. Yes, I did learn that in school. You press this, that's gonna open up your rear trunk. You got a nice little beep to warn everybody. Room is not the deepest. Now, if you need a hard number, what you're basically looking at is 17 cubic feet of space. It's enough for a couple carry-ons. And that's the one thing, is that they had to maximize the space inside, and to do that, you kind of lose a little space out back. But what we'll do is I want to go ahead and show you what the front is all about. So let's go ahead and take a little trip to the front of the Taycan, and what we'll do is I'm going to get my trusty key fob back out here, and we're now going to open up the front portion. So we do that, and real simple, there's a nice little lever right here. It's nice bright red, and we're going to open that up. Here's a surprising thing. A lot of room is not being used, but you have another area for at least one carry-on in there. If you're wondering, well, where are the batteries for this thing? They're actually located in the bottom of the vehicle, lithium ion. The battery cells do weigh about 1,000 pounds of the total vehicle weight, and you're looking at a vehicle a little over 5,000 pounds. But why don't we go ahead, let's get to the best part of any Porsche experience on Rady's Rides. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's take this Taycan Turbo S for a spin. All right, guys, we're about to leave Reeves Porsche in the all-new Taycan Turbo S, top trim level. We're gonna go gingerly at first. It's a little chilly this morning, but very, very fascinating. The seating position, I really feel like I'm behind the wheel of a 911, the way that that dash is set up, the gauge pod with the instrumentation and everything. Really, they did a great job of making it feel like a Porsche. I think if they would have went with a more squared off or rectangle shaped dash, I think we would have not as nice an experience. But rolling on to this highway, we're gonna check out the acceleration on throttle. Here we go. That 2-speed transmission, a first in the auto industry, really gets you right up to speed. We do have it in sport mode, which you do have the option to change it out of that mode and get into something a little bit more quicker as well. But that 2-speed transmission, it is a first use in an actual vehicle. And what's great about it is you don't feel there's no sensation. You're not feeling it actually changing that gear in any way, shape, or form. But as we exit off, wow, the acceleration, I'm telling you, it's unbelievable how smooth it is. And of course, in an EV, just like when we did the Teslas on Rady's Rides, you're not waiting for RPMs to build or boost to build in a turbo or anything like that. It's very instantaneous. Now, with the optional sound on, I think it helps give just a little bit more of a sporty feel inside. With it off, you still hear a little bit, but obviously it's going to be a little bit more quiet experience. But the seats, very comfortable. The amount of shoulder room, great. The only thing that's a little weird, like I was pointing out earlier, is where the armrest ends and how I'm sitting. I'm actually resting my arm on that plastic extension, which doesn't feel as nice as the leather armrest. So that's something that I wish that they would have extended the leather onto that extra piece that's actually behind where the door armrest is. But visibility out the front is great. Side mirrors working awesome. The rear window, I'm gonna have to zonk that because it is very, very tight back there. The good news though is the way that they set up the A-pillars, you have such a clear view. It's really, really nice to not have anything obstructing your view. And here we are just driving in traffic and very comfortable. You can go through your different settings to adjust the stiffness of the dampers, obviously how the power delivery is. Steering wheel, great size. You don't need a flat bottom steering wheel or anything like that in this car. Perfect thickness. The center console area, it's gonna take some time, I promise you, to figure out how to go through all the functions of the split level screen setup. And it may be a little awkward to not have not one single switch or knob in here. But I do like it way better than what Tesla does with their infotainment systems. I know a lot of people like that whole, like there's nothing in the vehicle and they just put a large, 20-inch screen in the center. This, it's smart the way that they split everything up. And the dash is probably one of my favorite things because it's reminding me of that 911 that we did not too long ago at Reeves. All right, guys, obviously being in a Porsche, one thing that they pride themselves on is how a car handles with all their 24-hour Le Mans wins. And we're gonna go through a little twisty set here. We're not gonna go anything too crazy, but on throttle. Remember the all-wheel drive. We don't have regenerative braking on right now. Very, very smooth, very crisp, great feedback coming through the wheel. I'm really glad that they got the feedback part down, but coming out of the bed, I mean, this thing gets up and goes very, very quickly. And what's nice is I felt confident. Now, the tires that they have from the factory, they want you to keep at a certain speed. It would be nice to see down the road, and I'm sure it's gonna happen, where obviously you could swap them out or have it from the factory, something a little bit stickier, even with the all-wheel drive, because remember, at the end of the day, we're talking about over 700 horsepower in this. This also does have launch control, and Porsche does say that you could do 10 back-to-back launches and still have full power, because that's the challenge with EVs, is that as you start to go through and use up some of that battery supply, you start to lose power. This, it's continuous, but on throttle, wow, it's crazy how it puts you back in the seat. But the even better part is how it handles. Now the great news is the way that the battery pack is, it's mounted very low in the chassis. That's going to lower your center of gravity, which is actually going to help aid your handling. All right, guys, we're going to go back through some twisties here on throttle, on the brakes. Remember those nice large calipers and rotors, really, really smooth on the brakes. Good feel back from those calipers are large with the carbon ceramic rotors. But I think what's awesome that's making me feel confident is just how large the windshield is. It really allows you to see your points as you're going through the turn to definitely hit your marks, and I think that is key, and obviously that was smart from Porsche. Another thing I forgot to mention earlier is that the sad news is there's no actual thing that you turn key-wise to fire up the Taycan. The interesting thing is, though, the button to power on is still on the left-hand side, and remember, that goes all the way back to the 24 Hours Le Mans when they had the key on the left-hand side so that you could put it into gear and get going once the flag fell, because you had to run to your car. But super smooth. The dash, I like the way they have it nice and low. That actually helps with visibility. And you have the peak fenders, which is really nice as well. But on throttle, on the brakes, I'm telling you, brake pedal feel is great. On brakes, decreasing radius here. All-wheel drive capability. Love it. Look at this. Feels amazing. I'm telling you, if you want an EV that is second to none when it comes to performance, this Porsche Taycan Turbo S, unbelievable. And like I said, we've driven the Model X, P100, ludicrous. This thing, totally, I would take this any day of the week and on Sundays twice in this Porsche. And like I said, it's just all that tradition, that heritage. Definitely got to thank Liam and the rest of the crew for getting us access to this car. But just like everything else, we need to get back to Reeves Porsche, so we will see you in a split second. All right, guys, it's been another amazing day here at Porsche Tampa Bay. Definitely this Taycan Turbo S brings the performance. Is it different than any Porsche before it? Yes, but it does have a lot of the ingredients to make it that Porsche of today, with that excellence in all that has been learned through their racing experience at the 24 Hours Le Mans and all the other championships that they've won along the way. Is this a competitor to the Model S? Tesla, for sure. Is it more expensive? Yes. But remember, Porsche, there is no substitute. But if it's cars like these that you want to see on Rady's Rides, leave a comment in the comment section. If you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit the subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile coming back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Rady's Rides family. If you want to help us keep making great content just for you on the channel, click the link in the description. Get yourself some Rady's Rides merch. Got to give it up to Big Guns McGee. These EVs are surprising him. He wants to go and get one himself. So Tom, we'll see what we could do. And just like always, guys, we'll see you on the next ride.